I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, and invite him to address the Assembly.
Mr. President,
各位同事
dear colleagues,
，70年前，
70 years ago,
我们的先
the
辈
earlier
经过了浴
generation
血
of
奋战，
mankind fought heroically
取得了
and secured the victory of the world
世界反法的战争的胜利，
anti-fascist war,
翻过
thus
了人类
closing a
历史
dark
上
page
黑暗的
in
一
the
页。
annals of human history.
这一胜利
That
来之
victory
不易。
was hard won.
70年前，
70 years
我
ago,
们的
the
先辈
earlier generation of
以远
mankind,
见卓
with
识，
vision and foresight,
建立了联合国
established the United Nations.
这一最具
This
普遍
universal and
性、
most
代表
representative
性、
and
权威
authoritative
性的国际
international
组织，
organization
寄托
has
人类
carried
新愿
mankind's
景，
hope for a new
开
future
启合作
and
新时
ushered
代。
in a new era of
这一
cooperation.
创举
It was a pioneering
前所未有。
initiative never undertaken before.
70年前，
70 years ago,
我们的
the
先
earlier
辈
generation of
各
mankind
方智
pulled
慧，
together their
制
wisdom
定了联
and
合国宪
adopted
章
the Charter of the United Nations,
奠定了
laying
现代
the cornerstone
国际
of the
秩序基石，
contemporary international order
确立了
and
当代国际
establishing
关
the
系的基
fundamental
本准
principles
则。
of contemporary international
这一
relations.
成就
This was an achievement
影响
of
深远。
profound impact.
主席先生
Mr. President,
各位同
dear
事
colleagues,
，9月
on
3
the
日，
3rd of September,
中国
the
人民
Chinese
同世界
people,
人民一
together
道
with the world's people,
隆重纪
solemnly
念了中国人
commemorated
民
the
抗日战
70th
争及
anniversary of the
世界
victory of the
反法
Chinese
西战
people's
争
war of resistance against
胜利
Japanese
70
aggression
周年，
and the world anti-fascist war.
作为
As the
东
main
方主
theater
战
in the
场，
East,
中国付出
China
了
made
伤
a
亡
national sacrifice
3500
of
多
over
万人的民
35
族牺
million
牲，
casualties in its fight against
抗击了
the
日本军
majority
国主义
troops of
主要兵
Japanese
力，
militarism.
不仅实现
It
了
not
国
only
家和民
saved
族的
itself and its
救亡
people from
无存，
subjugation,
而且
but
有
also
力
gave
地
strong
支援了
support
在
to the
欧
forces
洲
against aggression
和
in
太
the
平洋战场
European
上的
and
抵抗力
Pacific
量，
theaters,
为赢得
thus
世界
making a
反法西战
historic
争胜利
contribution to the victory
做出了
of the world
历史性贡献。
anti-fascist war.
历史是一面
History
镜子，
is a mirror.
以史为鉴，
Only by
才
drawing
能
lessons
避
from
免
history
重
can the
蹈覆
world
辙。
avoid repeating past
对历
calamity.
史，
We should review
我们
history
要心
with
怀
awe
敬畏，
and human conscience.
心怀良知。历史无
The
法改
past
变，
cannot be changed,
但未来
but the future
可以
can
塑
be
造。
shaped.
铭记
Bearing
历史
history in mind
不是为
is
了
not to
延续仇
perpetuate
恨，
hatred.
而是
Rather,
要共
It
同
is for mankind
引以为
not
戒。
to forget its lesson.
传承历史
Remembering history
不是
does
为
not
了
mean
纠结
being
过去，
obsessed with the past.
而是
Rather,
要开
in
创
doing
未
so, we
来，
aim to create a
让
better
和
future
平的
and
薪
pass the
火
torch of peace
代
from
代相
generation
传。
to generation.
主席先生，
Mr.
各位
President,
同
dear
事，
colleagues,
联合国走
the
过
United
了
Nations has
70
gone
年
through
风
the
风
test
雨
of
雨，
time over the past
见
7
证了各
decades.
国
It has witnessed
为
efforts
守
made
护
by
和
all
平、
countries
建设
to
家
uphold
园、
peace, build
谋求
homeland, and
合作
pursue
和探
cooperation.
索和实践。站在新
Having
的
reached a new historical
历史起点
starting
上，
point,
联合
the
国
United
需要
Nations
深入
needs to
思
address
考
the central issue
如
of
何
how
在
to better
21
promote
世纪
world peace and
更好地
development
回答
in the
世界
21st
和平与
century.
发展这一重大的课题。世界格
The
局正
world
处
is
在
going
一
through
个
a
加快
historical
演变的
process of
历史性进
accelerated
程之中，
evolution.
和
The
平发
sunshine
展
of peace,
进步
development, and progress
的
will be
阳光足
powerful
以
enough
穿
to
透
penetrate
战
the
争、
clouds of war,
贫穷、
poverty,
落
and
后的阴霾。
backwardness.
世
The
界多极
movement
化
toward
进
a
一步发展，
multipolar world
新兴
and the
市场
rise of
国家
emerging
和发展
markets
中
and
国家
developing
崛起，
countries have
已经
become
成为不可
an
阻挡的
irresistible
历
trend
史
of
潮流。
history.
经济全球化、
Economic
社
globalization
会
and
信
the
息化
advent of an
极
information
大解放和
age
发展了社
have
会生产
vastly
力，
unleashed and boosted social productive
既创
forces.
造了
They
前所
have
未有
both
的发
created
展机遇，
unprecedented development
也带
opportunities
来了需要
and given
认
rise
真
to
对
new
待
threats
的
and challenges
新威胁、
which we must face
新挑战。
squarely.
大道之
As
行
an
也，
ancient
天
Chinese
下为公。
saying goes, the greatest ideal
和
is to
平
create
发
a
展、
world
公
truly
平、
shared by
正
all.
义、民
Peace,
主、
development,
自
equity,
由，
justice, democracy,
是
and
全人类
freedom
的
are the
共同价
common
值，
values of mankind
也是联合
and
国
the
的
lofty goals
崇高
of
目
the
标。
United Nations.
目标
Yet
远
these
未
goals
完
are
成，
far from
我
being
们
achieved,
仍
and
需
we
努
must
力。
continue our endeavor to meet
当
them.
今世界，
In today's world,
各国
all
相互
countries are
依存，
interdependent
休
and
戚
share a
与共。
common future.
我们要
We
继承
should
和弘
renew
扬
our
联合国
commitment to the
宪章的
purposes
宗
and
旨和
principles of
原
the
则，
UN Charter,
构建
build a new type of
以合作共赢
international
为核
relations
心的
featuring
新
win-win
型国际关系，
cooperation,
打造人
and
类命
create a
运
community
共
of
同体。
shared future for mankind.
为此，
To achieve this goal,
我们需要
we
做出
need
以
to
下
make the
努力：
following efforts.
我们
We should
要建立
build
平等
partnerships
相
in
待、
which countries
互谅
treat each
互
other
让、
as
互商
equals,
互谅的伙伴关系。
engage in mutual consultation, and show mutual
联合
understanding.
国宪章
The
贯
principle
穿
of sovereign
主权
equality
平等原
underpins
则
the UN Charter.
世界
The
的
future
前
of the
途命
world
运
must be shaped
必须
by
由
all
各国共
countries.
同掌握。世界
All
各国
countries
一律平
are
等，
equals.
不能
The
以大
big,
压
strong,
小，
and rich
以
should
强
not
凌弱，
bully the small,
以富
weak,
欺
and
贫。
poor.
主
The
权原
principle
则
of sovereignty
不仅体
not only
现在
means
各
that the
国
sovereignty and
主权
territorial
和领土
integrity
完
of all
整，
countries
不容
are
侵犯，
inviolable
内政
and their internal
不容
affairs
干涉，
are not just subject to
还
interference.
应
It
体
also
现
means
在
that all countries'
各
right
国
to
自主选
independently
择社
choose
会制
social
度
systems and
和发
development
展道
paths
路的
should
权
be
利
upheld.
应当得到维护。体现在各国
And that
推
all
动
countries'
经济社会
endeavors
发
to
展
promote economic and social
改善
development
人民
and
生活
improve
的
their
实践
people's lives
应当
should be
受到尊重。
respected.
我们
We
要坚持
should be
多边主
committed
义，
to
不搞单边主
multilateralism
义，
and reject unilateralism.
要奉
We
行
should
双
adopt a
赢、
new vision
多
of
赢，
seeking win-win
共赢
outcomes
的新理
for
念，
all and reject the outdated
扔掉我赢
mindset
你输、
that one's
赢者
gain
通吃
means the
的
other's loss
旧思维
or。that the winner shall take all.
协商
Consultation
是
is an
民主
important
的
form of
重要形
democracy.
式，也应该成为
And
现
it
代
should
国际
also
治理
become
的
an
重要
important
方
means
法。
of exercising contemporary
要
international
倡导
governance.
以对话
We should resolve
解
disputes
争
and
端，
differences through dialogue and
协商
consultation.
化分歧。我们要在
We
国际和
should
区域
forge
层
a
面
global
建设
partnership at
全
both
球伙伴关
international and
系，
regional levels
走出
and
一条
embrace a new
对
approach
话
to
而不对
state to
抗、
state relations, one that features dialogue
结拜
rather
而
than
不结盟
confrontation
的
and
国与
seeks
国
partnership
交往
rather
新路。
than alliance.
大国之
Major
间相
countries
处，
should follow the principles
不
of
冲突，
no conflict,
不对抗，
no confrontation,
相互尊
mutual
重，
respect,
合作共
and
赢。
win-win cooperation in handling their
大国与
relations.
小国相
Big
处，
countries should treat
要
small
平等
countries as
相待，
equals
践
and
行
take
正
a
确
right
义利
approach
观，
to justice and
义利
interests
相
by
兼，
putting justice
义重于
before
利。
interests.
我们
We
要营造我们要营造
We
公
should
平正
create a
义、
security
共建
architecture
共享
featuring
的安全格局。
fairness, justice, joint contribution, and shared benefits.
在经济全
In
球
the
化的
age
时
of
代，
economic
各国
globalization,
安
the
全相
security
互
of
关
all
联，
countries is
彼此影
interlinked
响。
and has impact on one
没有
another.
一个国
No
家能
country
凭
can
一
maintain
己
absolute
之力
security with
谋
its own
求自
effort,
身
and
的
no country
绝对安
can
全，
achieve stability
也没
out
有
of
一个国
other
家
countries'
可以
instability.
从别国的动荡中收获稳定。弱肉强食
The
是
law of the
聪明法
jungle
则，
leaves the weak
不是
at the
国与
mercy
国
of
相
the
处之
strong.
道。
It is not the way for countries to
穷兵
conduct
黩
their
武
relations.
是霸道做
Those
法，
who adopt the high-ended
只能搬
approach
起
of
石头
using force
砸
will
自己
find
的
that
脚。
they are only lifting a rock to drop on their own feet.
我们要摒弃
We
一切
should
形式的
abandon
冷战思
Cold War
维，
mentality in
树
all
立
its
共同
manifestation
综
and
合、
foster a new vision
合
of
作
common,
可持续
comprehensive,
安全
cooperative,
的
and
新观
sustainable
念。
security.
我们要充
We
分
should
发
give
挥
full
联合
play to
国
the
及
central
其安理
role of the
会
United Nations and its
在
Security Council in
止战维
ending
和方面的
conflict
核心
and
作用，
keeping peace,
通过
and
和平
adopt
解决
the
争端
dual
和
approach of
强制
seeking
性
peaceful
行动，
solution to disputes
双轨
and
并
taking
举，
mandatory actions
化干
so
戈
as to turn
为玉帛。
hostility into amity. We should advance international cooperation in both economic and social fields and take a holistic approach to addressing traditional and non-traditional security threats so as to prevent conflicts from breaking out in the first place. We should promote open, innovative, and inclusive development that benefits all. The 2008 international financial crisis has taught us that allowing capital to blindly pursue profit can only create a crisis, and that global prosperity cannot be built on the shaky foundation of a market without moral constraints. The growing gap between rich and poor is both unsustainable and unfair. It is important for us to use both the invisible hand and the visible hand to form synergy between market forces and government function, and strive to achieve both efficiency and fairness. Development is meaningful only when it is inclusive and sustainable. To achieve such sustainable development requires openness, mutual assistance, and win-win cooperation. In the world today, close to 800 million people still live in extreme poverty. Nearly 6 million kids die before the age of 5 each year, and nearly 60 million children are unable to go to school. The just concluded UN Sustainable Development Summit adopted the post-2015 development agenda. We must translate our commitments into actions and work together to ensure that everyone is free from want, everyone has access to development, and everyone lives with dignity. We should increase inter-civilization exchange to promote harmony, inclusiveness, and respect for differences. The world is simply more colorful as a result of its cultural diversity. Diversity breeds exchanges. Exchanges create integration. And integration makes progress possible. In their interactions, civilizations must accept their differences. Only through mutual respect, mutual learning, and harmonious coexistence can the world maintain its diversity and thrive. Each civilization represents the unique vision and contribution of its people, and no civilization is superior to others. Different civilizations should have dialogue and exchanges instead of trying to exclude or replace each other. The history of mankind is a process of active exchanges, interactions, and integration among different civilizations. We should respect all civilizations and treat each other as equals. We should draw inspirations from each other to boost the creative development of human civilization. We should build an ecosystem that puts Mother Nature and green development first. Mankind may utilize the nature and even try to transform it, but we are, after all, a part of the nature. We should care for nature and not place ourselves above it. We should reconcile industrial development with nature and pursue harmony between man and nature to achieve sustainable development of the world and the all-round development of man. To build a sound ecology is vital for mankind's future. All members of the international community should work together to build a sound global eco-environment. We should respect nature, follow nature's ways, and protect nature. We should firmly pursue green, low-carbon, circular, and sustainable development. China will shoulder its share of responsibility, and China will continue to play its part in this common endeavor. We also urge developed countries to fulfill their historical responsibility, honor their emission reduction commitments, and help developing countries mitigate and adapt to climate change. Mr. President, dear colleagues, the over 1.3 billion and more Chinese people are endeavoring to realize the Chinese dream of great national renewal. The dream of the Chinese people is closely connected with the dreams of other peoples of the world. We cannot realize the Chinese dream without a peaceful international environment, a stable international order, and the understanding, support, and help from the rest of the world. The realization of the Chinese dream will bring more opportunities to other countries and contribute to global peace and development. China will continue to participate in building world peace. We are committed to peaceful development. No matter how the international landscape may evolve and how strong China may become, China will never pursue hegemony, expansion, or sphere of influence. China will continue to contribute to global development. We will continue to pursue common development and the win-win strategy of opening up. We are ready to share our development experience and opportunities with other countries, and we welcome other countries to board China's express train of development so that all of us will achieve common development. China will continue to uphold the international order. We will stay committed to the path of peaceful development through cooperation. China was the first country to put its signature on the UN Charter. We will continue to uphold the international order and system underpinned by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. China will continue to stand together with other developing countries. We firmly support greater representation and voice of developing countries, especially African countries, in the international governance system. China's vote in the United Nations will always belong to the developing countries. I wish to take this opportunity to announce China's decision to establish a 10-year, $1 billion China UN Peace and Development Fund to support the UN's work. To advance multilateral cooperation and contribute more to world peace and development. I also wish to announce that China will join the new UN peacekeeping capability readiness system. and has thus decided to take the lead in setting up a permanent peacekeeping police squad and build a peacekeeping standby force
并建设维和警队，并建设8000人规模的维和待命部队。我宣布，
I also wish to announce that China will provide a total of
向非盟提供总额为1亿美元的
$100 million
无偿
of
军事
free
援助，
military assistance to the African
以
Union
支持非
in the
洲
next
常备
5
军
years
和危机
to
应对
support the establishment
快速
of
反
the
应部队
African
建设。
standby force and the African capacity for immediate response to crisis.
主席先生，
Mr. President,
各位同事，
dear colleagues,
在联合国
as
迎
the
来
United
又
Nations
一个
enters
10
a new
年之际，
decade,
让我们
let
更
us
加紧密
unite
地
even more
团结
closely
起来，
to forge a new
携手构
partnership
建合
of
作共
win-win
赢新
cooperation
伙伴，同心
and
打
a
造
community of
人类命
shared
运
future
共同体，
for mankind.
让
Let
铸
the
剑为
vision of
犁、
a
永
world
不再
free
战
of
的理
war
念，
and with lasting
深植人
peace
心，
take root in our hearts.
让发
Let
展
the
繁荣、
aspiration of
公平
development,
正义的理
prosperity,
念
fairness, and justice
践行人
spread
间。
across the world.
谢谢各位。
Thank you all.